talk to us about his experience as a member of the 1st Infantry Division, 1st of the 10th Cav. I guess Robert a while ago. Being a Navy guy that what's his CAV stand for, and simply responded Cavalry. So it doesn't make any sense to me, but hopefully Robert will clarify that and show his experience well. And so Robert,
First of all, Benjamin over there, glad you didn't run away. Your sharing here was probably one of the best I've heard, and I've been here for 15 years. So congratulations to you, the points you brought up and your grandfather. So thank you very much. Okay, we're going to begin here, and I'll try to go fast. Now, in the last 55 years, I've never worn my tanker's sombrero here. So we'll see if it works, and if it doesn't, that means my toupee is too big and it won't fit. So let's see here. You know, I guess over the years you get hot air in your head. Oops. That could be my false teeth that just fell out. Okay. Oh my Lord. Was that on or not?
That's good, Robert. Remember that guy?
Yeah, okay. I don't have the propeller for the top, but this is called a tanker's beret. Okay, we'll get started real quickly here. Go ahead and turn to the next slide. Okay. Does it take lukewarm IQ to work this thing? Okay, so this is generally, if you look at the top, that's the midsection of Vietnam, the top part is. And geographically, that is known as the Central Highlands, which is very important. If I recall rightly, and let me use that pointer, good. Where's the button on that thing?
The red thing.
The red thing, okay. Yeah, I am electronically challenged here. Okay, so if I recall, if you look at the top portion there, maybe the top quarter of the map, that's called the Central Highlands. My recall is that in the northern part of the Central Highlands were the mountains, the southern part of that area were mountains, and also in the west. Generally speaking, the mid-drift bulge there was kind of a high plateau area, and everything left from the seacoast. You'll see two cities up top there. One is Quy Nhon, the lower one, and the other is An Khê. Quy Nhon, we'll get to that in a minute. An Khê is important because that is the home, or was the home, of the fire base of the 4th Infantry Division Army. And Steve Newton was stationed there a year or two before I was. And in the 55 years since Vietnam, I only recall one other person I have met who was at the fire base there in An Khê, which was called Camp Radcliffe. It was a force to be reckoned with, a very big place, and yet people have never heard of it. Okay, next slide. Yeah, you. No, I'm the pointer man. We're paying you the big bucks to do that because I would probably break it.
Well, that's what I was using.
See, I'm glad you're getting embarrassed because I didn't want to do this. Okay. Okay, cool. Just exactly what we want. Okay. If we look at the slide we just had a moment ago, and I said that's the top portion of South Vietnam, or towards the top of South Vietnam, it wasn't the top, Central Highlands. So this map is more particular. It's the same thing, the top portion, but I've named the important points here. If you look at the yellow highlighter there, can you folks see through my big back here? Okay, I'll put a cloaking device on so you can look through. Yeah, okay, I'll sit down then. Okay, so if you look at the right side there, you'll see a yellow highlighter there. It goes from east to west. That's called QL19. That's the highway. That's the major highway that runs from the seacoast all the way. Oops. Did I do it or did you? Okay. I thought you said hit the red thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Works. Okay, so it runs it, meaning QL19 is the main highway which runs from the coast all the way to Pleiku, which is approximately right here, and then it kind of jogs down southwest and merges in with Cambodia right here. So let's start from east to west here. So when you leave Quy Nhon on the coast here, You start the high terrain here, what's called the Ankei Pass. The reason I mention the Ankei Pass is very important. On the east side, on the coast, that's where the rocks were, Army of the Republic of Vietnam. And on the west side of Ankei Pass, that's where the American forces were. And our SOP was ironclad, which was don't mess with the rocks, don't talk with them, don't play cards, don't drink beer, don't joke, don't smoke, don't chase women, leave them the hell alone. So we did. And if you want to know afterwards, I'll explain why. Okay, so that's the pass that separated us from them. So this was our AO, what's called area of operation. So as we pass the Ankei Pass, we get to Ankei. I can't see it. Oh, here it is, Antuk, which is the older name of Ankei. And again, that's where Steve Newton was stationed, and that's the home base of the 4th Infantry Division, what was called Camp Radcliffe. Okay, when we start moving more westbound here, we reach a point on the geography here called the Manyang Pass. I once wrote an essay titled The Eyes of the Manyang, and I don't know where the hell I put it. But anyway, what's important here is if you saw or read, if you saw the film We Were Soldiers Once and Young, or if you read the book, both stories begin with an ambush and a decimation of the French Mobile 100, Mobile 100. And yes, okay, and then right past that is Suidao. And Suidao is where I left a piece of my heart and is still there. So real quickly here, I'm not supposed to go into too much, but I'm going to do a little detail here. If you look at the diacritical marks here, Sui, and then the one here, they look like a pipe you smoke that's inclined. That has to do with the tonality. So all Vietnamese has 5 tones. Each word has 5 meanings depending on the tone. So Sui Dao, if you said that, it means head of the stream or source of the brook. And I see those images all the time there. But anyway, so if you do the tone, it'd be sweet Dao. And so, okay, enough of that, so I don't get yelled at here. And then we go past there to Pleiku. So the important thing here is that the convoys would leave Queen Yan and they would go all the way westbound every day to deliver ordnance and materiel here to Pleiku. So the problem is this highway is very storied, which means it is hit by the bad guys. And so my rest of my tour was north and south and on the highway there. So Firebase Black Hawk, real quick, and then we'll go on to the next slide. Okay, Dead Man's Curve. Go back to that. Did I do that? Yeah. Okay. I guess I got fat fingers. Okay, Dead Man's Curve is right before Suidao. That's not a Warner's Brothers. That was the real term we used. And Dead Man's Curve is where there were 2 or 3 kinks in the road, kind of a bottleneck there, and that's where the enemy would hit very often. And that's what it was called, Firebase Black Hawk. Okay, so when I did my talk a few months back, real quickly here, I was a grunt. The chopper goes whop, 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 came to pick me up, and then it goes thump, 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 and a roar, roar, roar. Back in those days, I could tell whether the chopper was approaching, flanking, or leaving just by the sound. So the whop, whop, whop got me, and I ended up Firebase Black Hawk. Okay, go ahead, next. Okay, so if we look at QL19 right here, and then it starts swinging down right here past Pleiku, goes all the way to Cambodia. And the reason I put this map here is this is where Ayia Drang is. And that's where We Were Soldiers Once and Young took place. That was in November of 1965. That was the biggie of the biggies, which kicked off everything. So I was about 25, 30 miles northeast of that. Okay, next.
And you guarded that road, security?
Not the Ayia Drang one, but east of Pleiku, mostly around Dead Man's Curve, Suidao, and the Firebase Black Hawk. So my area of operation was, let's say, from the Manyang Pass all the way to Suidao, and that was my area right there. Okay, so this is what's called an ACAV, and I know Jim was muscling through trying to get the nomenclature, or the buzzwords right for Army, and I'll get a keg of beer and teach him all the words one day. But anyway, back stateside, this is called a PC, which means personnel carrier. However, when it's all decked up with armament and ready for engagement with an enemy, it's called an ACAV, which is an acronym for Armored Cavalry Assault Vehicle. Now, you'll notice this is a caliber 50 here. And you notice here you've got a M60, and then there's another one. So you've got an M60 on the port, on the starboard, and on all hours with my unit. This is not my unit, but it's a sister unit. We had one on the back. So 3 M60 machine guns and 1 Cal 50. Okay, next. Okay, this is a 3D mock-up of my vehicle. My mock-up, it doesn't show there, but it's vehicle 30. So this is home and hearth and everything. Our castle, our bedroom, our everything that we were in the whole time. So this mock-up was 3D mock-up was created by a student of one of my best buds. I had 2 best buds in Vietnam. In fact, thanks to Stan, I can actually do this talk, because Stan put me in touch with my best bud I hadn't heard from in 55 years. So his student, he was teaching either OCS or military. Okay, so there's that. Did I screw it up again? Okay, maybe I'll just leave and let you do the talk. How's that? Okay, so this is the back of the ACAV here, and that's a toolbox right there. You can see the ammo boxes right here. So we had a lot of ammunition. I won't go through all of them, because this was a powerhouse. So the sleepers would sleep inside, except for me. I'm an oddball. I refused. I slept underneath that caliber 50 gun on the grill every night. I would not go inside for the simple reason the idea of being burned up in an aluminum vehicle did not appeal to me, so I thought I'll take my chances. Okay, this is the top view. That's the caliber 50. This is called the cupola right here. That's the symbol of the 1st to the 10th Cav that I belong to, and you can see all the stuff all over here. Things were battened down when we had an engagement with the enemy. And this mock-up is missing the Cal 50 on the starboard side, the port, and the aft here. So we had 3 more here. And we had opened the hatch, so 3 of our troops would be standing here. And I guess Doug asked me the other day, well, did you go flanking so your side people here could shoot the enemy? And I said, when we had engagement on the road, no, but we're in the jungle, yes. Okay, next. Okay, these are my 2 buds. Oh my God, and I hadn't seen this pic in 55 years. So Ed Hudicek from Omaha, Nebraska, a slap-happy, loudmouth, redneck guy. I just loved him. He was my driver, and see, I was a mama's boy from New York, and so he was a redneck, from Omaha, Nebraska, and we just got along handily. He was like my brother. So when we had a engagement with the enemy, what they call firefight, or we actually call it contact, he would inscribe a tick mark on the side of the vehicle. You can't see it here, for each firefight we had. He would do that. This is Stan the man here. His name is Sergeant David Stanley. Stellar guy, very bright. And so these are my 2 buds right here. Go ahead. Okay, this is the only personal picture of mine that survived all the years. 2 bankruptcies, 2 marriages, this is the only one I had left. So this is me right here when my sombrero would fit my head. I had a different toupee here. And then these are just kids who are wandering around. SOP was don't mess with the kids, but all Americans did I do that? Okay, that's all right. We'll forgive you. Okay, this is a butt shot. And that's a picture of my butt. I think I'm inside the vehicle, and I know that's my butt because Stan the man told me it was, and I guess he's into butts. But anyway, I always wore my bayonet over my crack there. I know that sounds disgusting, but I had to be able to reach my sidearm in my pockets, and I couldn't be fussing with a bayonet, so I wore it right there. So that's me. All right. So now this is, there are 4 missions in Armored Cavalry. I lied, there are 5. The first one is called Jungle Reconnaissance, which is a euphemism for destroying enemy bunkers. The second mission is Road Security, which was a euphemism for being shot at. The third one is Perimeter Duty at Night. which is a euphemism for engaging in H&I program, which stands for harassment and interdiction, and trying to convince the enemy that you're not asleep at your post. The mission number 4 is what's called SERP, which is an acronym for Short Range Reconnaissance Patrol, often called Short Range Ranger Patrol, which is not correct because we were not Rangers, we were straight leg. In the last mission, I'll just leave it at that. The last mission we had was airport security, which was my favorite. I love airplanes, I'm a nerd. So I could look at the airplanes, identify them, and talk about engines and bore people to death. So I did that for 2 weeks. So those are the 5 missions we had next. Okay, this is a tank. Doug doesn't want me to go into nomenclature, but it's an M48, it's called. It is a tank. So the way we conducted business in the jungle, this is jungle reconnaissance here, is that we had a tank in the front of our squadron and then one in the rear, and with maybe 8 ACAVs in between. And it varied depending upon which ACAV was disabled and which wasn't. So the tank would lead the way, and with intelligence reports, would seek out and find the enemy bunkers. Now, to put into higher academics here, we were on a mission order. So our combat mission order. If we went into, let's just go on here. So anyway, then we had the 8 and then the ACAVs, and then we had the last tank in the rear there. And I got to finish the jungle thing here. At nighttime, thank you. At nighttime, with the jungle reconnaissance, which again is euphemism for burning out bunkers, when it came time for the NDP, which stands for Night Defensive Position, the head tank would describe or inscribe a donut in the jungle. In other words, it would mow down all the vegetation, trees, triple canopy, the whole thing, in a circle, let's say with a diameter maybe 1/10 of a mile wide, something like that. And then it would, after doing the full circle donut in the jungle, carving, knocking down the trees, everything, it would back in like spokes of a wheel of a wagon wheel. Then the other tank would go 180 degrees opposite and back in. So you'd have one tank on one apex of the circle and then the other on the other. Then the ACAVs would fit, let's say 4 on one side, 4 on the other. They would back in. So imagine covered wagons back in Cowboys and Indian days or Pioneer days. That was exactly what it was like. And then we set up the mines called Claiborne mines and all our other high-speed stuff. Okay, so that's jungle reconnaissance next. Okay, so this is an ambush that has just happened, and we had burned out a bunker complex in the morning. What the hell do you think was going to happen? Well, the bad guys would listen to the sounds of the engine, and they would follow us. Of course, that's what they do. So there was a river crossing here, and this whole squadron, unusual for me. I was usually the number 2. Vehicle right behind the head tank. So I was usually right up front there, except on this day, for reasons I don't know, I was second to the rear in front of the last tank. So what happened was one of the ACAVs crossing the river after we had decimated the bunker complex threw a track, which happened routinely. And the idea was to pry the track onto the sprockets, and everyone was out there with their logs and rocks and doing it. So because I was at the end of our group, I did not go up there to help. They didn't need me. Too many cooks in the soup spoiled it. So I pulled out, I was a driver at this point, lay down on the grill, took my shirt off, and I wanted to cop some Z's from the sun. No time at all, pop, pop, pop. There it was, holy mackerel. So it was small arms fire, AK, I can tell by the sound. It sounds like ladyfingers going off, pop, 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 pop. And I thought, oh crap. Usually contacts with the enemy would start with B-40 rockets, but in this case it was small arms only. And they were the folks seeking retribution after we burned out their complex. So I jumped off the grill, no shirt on, no everything, and started running towards the river as fast as I could. John Thompson, my good friend here, who I admire greatly, if he had been there, he would have said, Mr. Robert, I'm going to give you a reprimand and an Article 15 and shut up. You don't have your shirt on, you don't have your flak on, you don't have your helmet on, you don't have your damn gun. Article 15, I'm taking away your medals, dum-dum. Well, what I knew that maybe John, because John was in a different time period, was that this was a VC strike and it was post Cambodia, which meant that it was hit hard and disappeared. I already knew that. These were not NVAs in this area. These were VCs, Viet Cong. So I ran up there as fast as I could when I got there to the river, which is right behind the position of the camera here. There was only one other troop. Everybody else was manning their vehicles. So I ran up. This other troop is there. And we jumped in the river, and I hauled out the LT, that's lieutenant, and the other guy helped me, and I pulled him out. And, you know, obviously looking at his wound real quick, the chopper had just landed within minutes. He must have been in the area. This is called medevac, medical evacuation is the term. So I pulled the LT out, and his left buttocks cheek was shot off. It looked like it was a pancake hanging off his butt. So when you hear the term, got our asses shot, that's what it is literally. So we put him in the chopper there, eased him in as easy as we could do it. And then this punk kid who was with me, we were the only two there, punk kid, he said something I never forgot my whole life. He said, LT, hold my hand. And I thought, whew. And here's a loudmouth punk kid, hold my hand, as we eased him in there because he was hurting. Then I ran back to the river on this shot here, and I picked up the sergeant. I think he was at E7, E6, I can't remember. And that morning, before we burned down the bunker complex, the sergeant and I were yammering about how happy he was to get home to see his daughter graduate from high school. And he was just all eager beaver. When I picked him up out of the river, it was a very shallow river. He had AK round through his right back all the way through his lung. So he was hurting. He had a hard time breathing. So I put him in there. And then I ran back to the river one more time. And by this time, other troops had arrived. They jumped out of their vehicles and they were trying to help us. There were 3 or 4 others in the river. So I found this kid, I call him a kid, he was probably 18, he looked like not a day over 16. He wasn't moving, so I picked him up in my arms like a rag doll, carrying him like a rag doll, and he didn't say anything, wasn't moving, he was just glazed. So I put him in, the other folks put the other troops in, and the chopper was gone. Okay, next. Okay, so these are, this is what's called a SERP, Short Range Reconnaissance Patrol. Stand the man's in the middle, my bud, 1 or 2, but this is probably right after a SERP, Short Range Ranger Patrol or Reconnaissance Patrol. That's a Chew Hoy, right? Damn, this thing has a mind of its own. Okay, I quit. I know I got fat fingers and funny looking woolly hair. Yeah, no, because you don't know what I'm thinking. Okay, so this is a Chew Hoy. He's a turncoat, and this guy was an excellent troop. This is Tommy. Probably spelled Thong. It's from the throat, so it's Dong. So
what a Chew Hoy is.
Chew Hoy is somebody who defects from the enemy side and joins the Americans. And there were quite a few of those. I'm sorry I have my back to you, but if I stand up, you can't see this. So they defect from the enemy side. And everyone who I met, we always had 2, always. On every patrol I went to, and I never missed a patrol for the whole year I was there. They were good troops. They could understand what you were saying. They had, in my view, kind of a photographic memory. So that's Tommy. His brother, by the time I left, was killed in Laos, and he had a hard time. Stand the man right there. This is Ratso. If you didn't know him, you'd say, hi, I'm glad to meet you, Ratso, because that's what he looks like. Okay, this is Dead Man's Curve. We're only going to use one slide here. That's the only one that was sent to me by my bud. So Dead Man's Curve, as I mentioned a little bit, is along QL 19, which is the highway which runs the munitions and material from east to west to Pleiku. And at the 2 kinks where we'd set up each day after we did a mine sweep, And incidentally, I would not let my troops, by this time I was acting Jack Sergeant. I'd moved it from gunner to driver, and now I was acting Jack at this time. So I wouldn't let my people off the track until at least one or two of the people on the side would take their M60s and shoot the ground where I said we're going to pull in and set up for the day. They're called revetments, because if there is a landmine, hopefully you will detonate it with your M16. So nobody off the damn vehicle till we shoot up the ground. Okay, so this is Dead Man's Curve. This is a firefight ensuing right here. And it looks like a vacant sand lot. And at the 2 or 3 or 4 kinks in the road here where the bad guys would hit. And so it looks like a vacant sand lot for the reason that SOP was that the aerial applicators would spread their Agent Orange to defoliate. And Benjamin, is he still back there someplace? Yeah, oh, there you are. So the guy with the smile back there. So as Benjamin was talking about the Agent Orange, this is exactly what it was. The SOP was that on either side of the road, 100 meters, the defoliating aerial applicators would drop their stuff, and so everything is defoliated. That's why it looks like a vacant sand lot. So, and if you think of 100 meters, that's 300 feet plus either side. So that's a 600-foot swath. And so you think, well, how can you have a firefight in a vacant sand lot? Well, the bad guys would do what's called the FAR ambush. And are we at 25?
Yeah.
Okay, oh crap, I gotta go quick here. Okay, so this is my unit right here, so that's a tank go on, so I don't get...
What's all the stuff on the side?
Okay, all the stuff on the side has to do with munitions, stores, food, stuff like that. And you can't see it, but everybody had chain link fence. It's probably hanging off the other side. So every time we stopped, we'd pull out the chain link fence and put it over the front of the vehicle, because the bad guys would fire towards the front to knock out the cupola with the caliber 50. And the chain link fence, which you don't see here, which we set up every time we stop, would detonate the B-40s, so the B-40 would not penetrate the cockpit and that sort of thing. Okay, next. Okay, so this is called a M42. M42s, we used to call them pom-pom guns. If you ever saw the old films, Victory at Sea, and you see the battleships there, and the big guns are going boom, 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 like that. So this is one of those, a big boom, boom gun. And so when I first got to the fire base, what are we, down to 4 minutes now? Oh, shoot. Okay, so Firebase Blackhawk, when I first got there, the new kid on the block, and we did H&I program, which is harassment and interdiction, I would hear 2 or 3 of these M42s going off all night long, boom, 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 boom. And the mountain range there was like our front range. If you can imagine Colorado Springs with a steep grade, let's say maybe 60 degrees there, it was exactly like that, only was clad with triple canopy jungle. So all night long, these things, the M42s, are shooting the mountain range left and right, in addition to our other H&I, which we had other guns. And I thought to myself, you know, being the college kid that I was, why are we wasting taxpayer money shooting rocks? That's the first thing. But I didn't say anything because I was a new kid. Shut up and listen and learn. And then I thought maybe 1 or 2 nights there on guard duty, let's find out. So I pulled out the Starlight scope, which condenses the ambient light from stars and moon, phenomenally intensifies the light. And I put the Starlight scope, it's about this long, and it looks like a submarine periscope with the hash marks and stuff, and the image is green, so it's like you're underwater. So it goes zing, it's a high whine, and so I trained the Starlight scope on the front range there, just like Colorado Springs at night, ink black, with all the guns shooting the rocks. Holy mackerel! Campfires as far as I could see. The ambient light was picked up by the Starlight scope, so the Vietnamese enemy would dig pits, and they would eat at night there, whatever the hell they ate, and then they would carve flue pipes, which along the slope there, to channel the smoke along the side so it would dissipate the smoke so we, the American forces, couldn't see it. So, okay, so here's another tank. Go ahead, next. Next. Hello? Okay. This is, I had some bad experiences. This is where, when I got there, adding a little bit, we had racial strife. It was unspeakable. So we were going on patrol, and two troops came up in front of me, and they basically executed my captain in front of my face. Very horrible. So I'm not going to go into this, but that was one of the things that happened. This is me back in the world. I came home next. Next. Okay, so I was teaching at the college level out east, and I gave talks to high schools out there for a few years. I don't do that anymore. And so the town of Bennett decided to do a brick in my honor. I didn't ask them. And all I said is, yeah, but how can you put a brick? I'm not even dead yet. But they put it up anyway. Maybe I look like the Walking Dead. I'm not sure. But so they put that up. Okay, are we all done, Chief?
Yep.
Okay. Well, did I bust?
You're fine. Just
Good. So I get my weekly allowance because last
now
time.
you get to answer questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Where were you when they killed your captain?
That was in on K. On K at that time had downsized. It was called what was it? Camp Radcliffe. And because Nixon was downsizing U.S. forces, it was changed to rear fire support base Black Hawk. But it was basically an on K, and we're firing up to go on a mission with a mission statement and everything, our mission order, and he was, the captain was a West Pointer. I liked him. I thought he was stellar. And, you know, unbeknownst to me, because I was in the field the whole time, I did not like the rear. I don't like screwing around the rear with idle stuff going on. So I didn't know what was going on, but it happened within seconds. There was nothing I could do. And if I had twitched my finger on the trigger, chances are I wouldn't be here today.